With Murray & Roberts, which was historically South Africa's largest engineering, contracting and construction services company. It made a loss in 2011 related mostly to project write-downs and now has a market cap of only 11 billion rand. It completed a 2 billion rand rights offer in order to recapitalize the firm earlier this year. So the bottom line, it's not going bankrupt anymore, is it? Or going bang, rather.
Look, it was interesting because they were doing exceedingly well. They were getting all the prime plum projects. We know about the Gautrain, we know about the big gas project off the Western Australian coast. Unfortunately, those projects, as good as they were, they took revenue early when they thought the going was good. Then when it all came to pass that things were not looking so hot and the banks were starting to shout, then suddenly they took massive write-downs in earnings, and we've seen negative earnings, not just negative
so early
earnings.
Revenue recognition is a no-no.
Well, it's difficult because in this industry, say you're doing like a multi-year project and you're making money and you're getting partial payments and you think it's all going according to plan, so you start taking that revenue. The next thing you start fighting with the customer and then they want it all back, and so it is difficult. But at the same time, I think Brian Bruce could have played it better. There's been a management shareholder firing change that's happened there. Roy Anderson has sort of replaced the management team, and the new CEO, Henry Last, looks as though he's kind of getting things together. The rights issue, blah, blah, blah.
Is that the reality? Henry Last is getting things together since he's been in the hot seat at Murray & Roberts?
Well, there's been a good few changes, and the problem with it is that they just lost the mining contract. It's not a very big contract with Aquarius Platinum, but with these construction companies, as Paul was saying, you start to get traction and you lose a project, and then you lose another project, and they're very capital intensive, and it draws a lot of liquidity away from these companies. So you have to really be careful about how you manage each individual project, so there's no contagion rolling over into them and liquidity shrinkage. So it's difficult for them. If
we see the sector righting itself, could this not be your best bet because it's fallen harder than the others?
Yeah, I guess so. So in other words, the argument that it's really hit rock bottom. Look, that rights issue they did, they raised 2 billion rand, as you say, to recapitalize and get rid of some of the debt and so on. But they did it at 18 rand a share relative to a share price of around 30. When companies do that, you have to follow your rights. Otherwise, you're basically being thrown out of the back door. You have to, because otherwise you get hectically diluted. So they got most people to follow their rights, and I suppose that's fair enough. But from here, they've got a lot of reputational rebuilding to do.
Yes, a lot of reputational rebuilding, but are all the skeletons out of the closet?
It looks like it. If you take a look at the surface and you speak to management, they've said they've cleaned up their business. One of few still big projects that they've got in the Middle East. Middle East is starting to pick up slightly. You start to see a little bit more of corporate activity happening there. So if that sector picks up and they can switch on one or two projects there again.
I thought they'd wound down their business completely in the Middle East. They've still got
one or two projects that they're running. But that business as well, there would still be something that they would look going forward if that sector really starts to move. And the mining industry, they've got a lot of contract mining. If mining picks up as well, you'll start to get some traction there as well.
Resolution on the Gautrain project. Is there anything else to come in that space?
Well, the two things what hit them here was the Gautrain project. What hit them here was that Gorgon Pioneer project, which is this LNG thing in Australia for Chevron. What's kind of there or thereabouts is the Medupi work that they're doing on the construction of the power stations. One hears that that's not exactly going too marvelously.
So you think there are more skeletons in the closet?
Well, I think they kind of have signaled that, so I don't think that's necessarily an extra negative, but I'm hoping that they can keep that ship on the road.
All the bad news then built into the share price. Do you believe so?
I think it is built into the share price. I wouldn't be short the stock to say, well, it's going to have another leg down, but I wouldn't still be a buyer at these levels. I think there's still time to get these projects running, get them moving. So no, I think not another sell down, but not a purchase.
Stabilization at least. Well, there's something to be positive about, but I know I'm not going to get any more positivity, hot or not, on Murray & Roberts, Mr. Paul Theron.
Maybe later, not now.
Rob, hot or not?
Same. Later on.